Welcome to another episode of Unlocking the Upside. I'm Jeff Robinson, and today we're diving deep into one of the most powerful forces in modern business, network effects. As someone who's analyzed markets for decades, I've seen firsthand how network effects can create incredible value and reshape entire industries.
That's right, Jeff. And what's fascinating is how network effects have evolved from traditional industries like telephones to today's digital platforms. Before we dive in, can you explain what exactly makes network effects so special from an investment perspective?
Great question, James. In my years on Wall Street, I've seen lots of competitive advantages come and go, but network effects are different. They create this powerful, positive feedback loop that can lead to winner-take-most markets. Let me break down exactly how this works. Network effects have created the most valuable companies in history, with Apple, Microsoft, and Google each surpassing $2 trillion in market value. But what most people don't realize is that these effects are far more complex and fragile than they appear.
That's fascinating because when you look at those numbers, it really shows the incredible power these network effects can have. How exactly do they work?
Well, think of it like a snowball rolling downhill. The basic concept is that the more people who use something, the more valuable it becomes for everyone. Take WhatsApp. Each new user makes the platform exponentially more valuable because they bring all their potential connections with them.
So if we're looking at different types of these effects, what are the main ones we should understand?
There are three key types, and they each work differently. Direct network effects are the easiest to grasp, like telephone networks, where each new user creates direct value by expanding possible connections. Then you've got indirect effects, like with electric vehicles and charging stations. More EVs encourage more charging stations, making EVs more attractive.
And what about platform effects? I've been hearing a lot about those lately.
Platform effects are fascinating because they create these intricate ecosystems. Look at Uber. They've built a marketplace where drivers and riders create value for each other. More drivers mean shorter wait times, while more riders mean better earning opportunities. The numbers are staggering. In some cities, they've reached over 90% market share.
That reminds me of how Facebook completely dominated social networking. They weren't even first, but they somehow won the race.
Exactly. And here's what's wild. Facebook's rise shows how critical mass works. Once they hit about 100 million users around 2008, growth became almost unstoppable. And this is crucial, reaching that tipping point is incredibly difficult. For every Facebook, there are hundreds of failed social networks that never made it.
You know what I find really interesting? The economics behind these network effects. Could you break that down?
Well, these businesses typically have huge fixed costs, but tiny marginal costs. Google spends an astronomical $18 to $20 billion annually just to remain the default search engine on Apple devices. But once that infrastructure is in place, serving an extra million searches costs almost nothing.
That's mind-boggling. How do companies justify such massive investments?
It's all about scale and defending their moat. Look at Microsoft's Windows dominance. They've maintained over 75% market share for decades because of the incredible ecosystem they've built. The network effects are so strong that businesses face massive switching costs to move to alternatives.
But these effects aren't invincible, right? I mean, we've seen some giants fall.
Oh, you're absolutely right about that. Remember WordPerfect? In 1990, they had nearly 50% of the word processing market. But when computing shifted to Windows, they completely missed the boat. And Microsoft Word now has over 90% market share. It shows how technological changes can disrupt even the strongest networks.
So what should investors watch for when evaluating these businesses?
Three critical factors. First, market structure. These industries tend toward concentration, with HHI scores above 8,000. Second, monetization potential. Having users doesn't guarantee profits. And third, sustainability. You need to evaluate threats from technology changes, regulation, and competition.
Speaking of regulation, that seems to be a growing concern for these network effect businesses.
Yeah, it's becoming a huge factor. The EU's Digital Markets Act, for instance, could fundamentally change how tech platforms operate. And in the US, there's increasing scrutiny of data privacy and market power. These regulatory pressures could reshape how network effects function.
That must create some interesting challenges for valuation. How do you price these companies?
That's where it gets really tricky. Network effects can justify premium valuations, but you have to be incredibly careful. Look at MySpace. News Corp bought it for $580 million in 2005, thinking the network effects were unstoppable. Within a few years, it was practically worthless.
So what's next for network effects? Where do you see the most potential?
Well, artificial intelligence is creating entirely new types of network effects. Each user interaction improves the AI's performance, creating what we call data network effects. Companies like OpenAI are showing how powerful this can be. Their models improve exponentially with more users and data.
That's really changing how we need to think about competitive advantages, isn't it?
Exactly right. The future of network effects might look very different from what we've seen before. Blockchain and decentralized networks are challenging the traditional platform model. Instead of value accruing to centralized companies, we might see it distributed across network participants.
This has really changed how I think about modern business competition.
And that's really the key takeaway. Network effects are incredibly powerful, but they're not magical or permanent. Success requires constant innovation, adaptation, and investment. The companies that understand this and can execute on it will be the ones that create lasting value in the digital economy. Before we wrap up today's discussion on network effects, I want to share something that epitomizes the power of combining deep market expertise with modern technology. Throughout my career analyzing network effects and other market dynamics, I've always believed that institutional level investment knowledge should be accessible to everyone. That's why I created Insight One. Insight One represents the intersection of decades of market analysis with cutting-edge educational technology. We've taken complex concepts like network effects, market power, and competitive advantage and transformed them into clear, actionable insights for investors at every level. Our platform adapts to your learning style, making sophisticated investment concepts accessible and practical. What makes Insight One unique is this combination of deep market wisdom with advanced learning technology. Whether you're just starting to explore concepts like network effects or looking to refine your investment analysis skills, you'll find the same level of insight I've provided to institutional investors throughout my career. You can find us on the App Store, Google Play, or at theinvestmentanalyst.com. Start your journey toward better investment understanding today. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time